let's get into the summary of Gordon S. Livingston Search for a Stranger. The author is a child psychiatrist working in Columbia, USA. Who is the author? Gordon S. Livingston. Child psychiatrist. What do you mean by child psychiatrist? A physician who focuses on the mental health, its mentality of the children, evaluating emotional and behavioral disorders of the children, and feeling and getting know their depression, coming out of them. It's the work of the psychiatrist, right? One day his cousin asked him about his work. Author's cousin asked him about his work. The author talked about a conference which he had attended on adopted children. The difficulties faced by an adopted children had been discussed in that conference. These children needed a professional help to overcome the emotional process they faced. So, what was the conversation? About the adopted children and the difficulties faced by the adopted children. What the author says then, the children needed a professional help to overcome the emotional problems. One of the major problem of adopted children is feeling of double identity. What do you mean by double identity? Double means a dual means two identities, are two separate identities of an individual. What do the adopted children have? A double identity of natural parents and adopted parents. If a child wanted to know about natural parents, the law did not help them. The court usually sealed the adoption records. They feel that there is something shameful about them when they find out their births have been kept a secret. If a child wanted to know the natural parents, what the court usually does, they seal. They they did not allow to see. If they come to know, it will be shameful. They feel the author feels the child should know the truth from the adopted parents itself. The cousin questions why. Then the other says if the child learns the truth of its adoption from the people, then there can be a physiological damage. What the author says, firstly and beforely, the children should know their adoption process, because if they comes to know by other, it will be a physiological damage. So next phase, the author's fourth child Michael is also adopted, and he had told him the truth. So the author has before the three children he has, and the fourth child is Michael, who is adopted, and he told him the truth that he has adopted. Then the cousin then asked us what he would do. He knew that he was an adopted child. So here comes the shock. What? The author is adopted. The author thought he was joking, and slowly he realized that he was speaking the truth. The author was gone into shock. While first he was joking, and then he realized, what? I have been adopted. Yes, he was adopted and would not face the truth. Why? Why he would not face the truth? Because till now he was dealing about the adopted children's, the mentality of the adopted children's and their problems. Now the problem arises for him itself. Many questions arose in the author's mind. Till now, he had thought that his adopted parents were his natural parents, but he comes to know that he is an adopted. Fastly and quickly, he asked his adopted father as to why he had been hidden truth from him. The father replies, "We were afraid that you may you may go or lose him. He might have liked to see his natural parents and losing." His adopted mother had died a year ago when the author was adopted. Then the author considers always his adopted parents as natural parents and not to worry about losing him. What the author says to his father, holding his hand, says, "You are my natural parents and not to worry about losing me." The author starts searching for his natural parents. So this was the story till now. Next, through his searching, the author had was born in June 30, 1938. When he had been adopted, his parents had been living in the city of Detroit. City of Detroit. The author's father's friend Martin is also adopted a child from an agency in Memphis, Tennessee. The author, after his number of calls to Martin's, found that he had been adopted from the Tennessee Children's Home Society. So, what was the mess here? The author's father, adopted father's friend Martin, is also adopted a child from the same agency where author is also adopted. What is the agency name? Memphis, the Tennis Children's Home Society. In Memphis, the society is Tennis Children's Home Society. The author wanted to see the records, but the adoption records were sealed by law. Permission was denied. Why? Why the records were sealed by the van? Why the permission is denied? Let's see. Then he went to a local newspaper. Then he went to a local newspaper. Then he went to a local newspaper office and found out the children's home had been closed in 1950. The children's home was closed in 1950. Why? The director had been selling the children. The children were usually the children of unwed mothers, prostitutes, and mental patients. The director was selling the children of usually unwed mothers, prostitutes, and mental patients. Now the author wondered and going to shock whether he is a child of unwed mother or prostitute and mental patients, where he belonged to. Then the author engaged a local lawyer and known through a clerk in a court that his original name was Donald Arford Cardell. His mother name was Anne Simmons Cardell. The record stated that father had abandoned the child. What the abandoned means? Unwed mother, an illegal marriage, illegal relationship. The author's lawyer found out that his mother was a teacher from Mississippi. From Mississippi, the mother was a teacher. The author flew into the city of Jackson, Mississippi. Flew his own aeroplane it was, and he was flew into the city of Jackson, Mississippi, and found his mother's name in academic records, and know that she has completed her master degree in the year 1952. The author made a phone call to that college in alumni office. That office, they informed that they had received a letter from Miss Cardell 10 years ago from a place called Natchez. Where the author called an alumni office and they said 10 years ago they received a letter from Natchez. Then he found the name of Alfred Cardell Jr. From the number of Alfred Cardell letters, he found Alfred Cardell Jr. and called him. And he said, Aunt Simmons Cardell was his aunt and she lives in Savannah. When the Alfred Cardell Jr. left the call and he asked up his mother, the Alfred Cardell Jr. says she was his aunt and she lives in Savannah. The author again flew to Savannah and called her mother and says, Hello, is this Aunt Simmons Cardell? Met her and told yes, she says. And he says that whole truth that he was his son. And Anne Cardell, his mother, was elderly, age about 60 years of age. She invites him without any hesitancy. She told the story that she given a coffee first and then she says with very emotionally she says that she was born in Mississippi in a farming poor family and fall in love with a handsome man who was good dancer and he was 28 years old then. When she was pregnant, he left him, so she had gone to Memphis to have the baby. The author felt was listening to his life history. He sympathized with his mother. His father had died 3 years ago of cancer. His mother then told him how she kept in touch with him. Here is the beautiful narration. She had a unique way of keeping track of him through her students. She would assume her students to be her son. When she comforted a child, she felt as she were comforting the author. She knew that the author would be in the third grade. She applied for a transfer to the top grade by doing. She felt that she was close to her son, but she felt that she was becoming selfish. She wanted to work at him, but she wanted to see him as a man. She was proud that he was sitting in front of her. She asked him to forgive her. The author went and touched his mother for the first time. 38 years old that he was doing so. So it was the story of searching for a stranger written by Gordon S. Livingston, his real story. Thank you. Watch.